There's something unsettling about subways after midnight. The echo of distant footsteps, the flicker of faulty lights, the silence between trains. It all begins to feel unnatural. For those working the night shift deep underground, reality can blur in terrifying ways. In this episode, you'll hear 3 true accounts from people who spent their nights in the tunnels and found themselves face to face with the unexplainable. Story 1. The girl at track 6. Derek had been a station custodian for almost a decade. Working the night shift in a downtown subway station wasn't glamorous, but it was predictable. Until one rainy Thursday in October. The station was a maze of concrete platforms, dim tunnels, and tracks that seemed to stretch into nothingness. Track 6 was rarely used after 11 p.m., mostly reserved for maintenance trains or late reroutes. That night, Derek's shift began as usual. Clock in, sweep the platforms, empty the bins, make sure the homeless weren't camping in the corners. At 1:13 a.m., as he made his way past Track 6, he saw something strange. Someone standing right at the edge. It was a girl. Maybe in her late teens, barefoot, wearing what looked like an old-fashioned white dress. Her long hair hung in wet clumps, and she stood motionless, staring into the darkness of the tunnel. Derek slowed his pace. "Miss, are you okay?" he called out. No answer. He took a cautious step forward, heart thudding in his chest. "You're not supposed to be down here," he said, louder this time. Still no movement, no response. He glanced around. No other employees, no cameras in this section. His walkie crackled faintly, but the static only added to the tension. He stepped closer. That's when the girl turned her head. Slowly. Too slowly. Her eyes were black, not from shadow, not from makeup, just empty, glistening voids. Her expression remained blank, and she didn't blink. Derek froze. Then, without warning, she stepped off the edge of the platform. Derek lunged forward. "No, wait," he yelled, but when he reached the edge and looked down, the tracks were empty. No splash, no scream, nothing. He stared into the tunnel, the silence pressing in on him. Shaken, he called it in. Security arrived within 10 minutes, and the track power was cut. They searched for nearly an hour, but found no trace. No girl, no dress, not even a footprint. Derek's supervisor told him to take a break and stop watching so many horror movies. But something about the girl stayed with him. 2 nights later, it happened again. This time, Derek spotted her from the mezzanine. Same dress, same posture, same unblinking stare into the tunnel. He didn't approach. He just stood and watched. She didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't breathe. Then the tunnel lights flickered, once, twice, and she was gone. Derek began digging. He found old reports, barely legible incident logs. One stood out. Unidentified female fatality, suicide, track 6, 1987. There was a name, partially smudged, but he could make out Emily. She was 19. Jumped in front of a late-night train wearing her prom dress. The dress was white. He took the report to security. They shrugged. Urban legends, they said. Every station's got one. But Derek knew what he saw. 1 week later, he brought a disposable camera. He waited near track 6, hidden behind a column. At exactly 1:13 a.m., she appeared again. Derek snapped a photo. The shutter echoed loudly in the empty tunnel, but she didn't move. He developed the photo the next day. It showed the platform, dimly lit, the tracks, the tunnel. No girl. But in the center of the image, standing at the edge of the platform, was a silhouette, barely visible, pale, featureless, but definitely human. He never showed it to anyone. From that day on, Derek avoided track 6. He'd make excuses, take longer routes, but other workers started whispering. People were hearing footsteps where there shouldn't be any. Security footage would glitch, always near that track, always around 1:13 a.m. One janitor, new to the job, claimed he saw a girl in white walk directly into the tunnel. She looked wrong, he said, like her face didn't belong on her head. By January, management quietly closed track 6 for structural repairs. The real reason was never publicized, but the late-night staff knew. The girl hadn't left. She was just waiting, still staring into that tunnel, searching for something no living person could understand. Derek quit 3 weeks later. He said he needed a break, moved upstate, took a job at a grocery store. But he never stopped thinking about that girl, about the empty eyes, the way she vanished, and the feeling deep in his gut that she hadn't jumped. She was pulled. Story 2, the tunnel walker. Sam had been a train operator on the night shift for the city subway system for nearly 5 years. The pay was decent, the routine was tolerable, and the peace of the empty tracks between 12 and 5 a.m. suited him. But every operator knew that night shifts came with one unspoken rule: don't look too long into the tunnels. Especially not at Station 24. Station 24 wasn't even supposed to exist anymore. Officially decommissioned in 1999 after an electrical fire damaged the platform, it had become a pass-through point on the eastbound Green Line. Trains slowed slightly as they passed through, lights dimmed for safety reasons, and then picked up speed again. No passengers. No stops. Just silence, rot, and graffiti on the soot-streaked walls. It started on a Wednesday. Sam's route had him on the 2:15 a.m. eastbound run, just one loop left before the shift ended. He always braced himself when approaching Station 24, kept his eyes on the track, hands steady on the lever. But that night, as he entered the station's shadowed threshold, something flickered in his peripheral vision. A man. No, a shape. Tall, lanky, and moving unnaturally, pacing along the edge of the abandoned platform. Sam's instincts screamed. He tapped the emergency brakes just enough to slow slightly, but he didn't stop. He leaned forward, peering through the thick glass, straining his eyes. The figure didn't react to the oncoming train. It walked, slowly, with long, dragging strides, back and forth, like it had no idea a train was there, or worse, like it didn't care. By the time he exited the tunnel, the figure had vanished into the dark. He reported it, of course. SOP required it. Possible trespasser, he said. Station 24, tall male, moving oddly. Control acknowledged and promised a sweep, but Sam could hear the dispatcher's tone. Bored, doubtful. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same place. The figure was there, again pacing. But this time, as Sam approached, the figure stopped. It turned. No eyes, no features, just a smooth, pale oval where a face should have been. And it stepped forward, onto the tracks. Sam slammed the brakes, heart punching through his chest. The train screeched and jolted, metal shrieking in protest. It took nearly a full minute to stop, halfway down the tunnel. Lights flickered. Silence. He radioed it in, hands trembling. Security searched the area. No signs, no footprints, no figure. They told Sam to take a break. They ran drug tests. All came back clean. Stress, they said. Late shifts mess with your head. But Sam knew better. The dream started soon after. He dreamed of the tunnel, empty and cold, with the figure pacing. Only now it was aware of him. It turned toward him in the dream and started walking down the tunnel, toward his train, toward him. Each night it came closer. And in each dream, the air grew heavier, like breathing underwater. By Friday, Sam dreaded going to work. But he needed the paycheck. So he took the shift, told himself he'd ignore the platform this time. Just eyes on the rail, one more loop. But when his train approached Station 24, the lights flickered, not just in the tunnel, but inside the operator's cabin. All panels dimmed, a buzz filled the air, like distant radio static, and then everything went dark. For 3 full seconds, the train was swallowed by pitch black. When the emergency lights kicked in, Sam saw it, no longer on the platform, no longer walking. It was standing in the middle of the tracks. Its limbs were too long. Its spine arched backward, head tilted to one side like a broken mannequin. It had no face, but Sam felt it staring. Not with eyes, with something deeper. He didn't stop. He didn't slow down. The train blew past, and he didn't look back. At the end of the shift, Sam quit. He handed in his badge, walked out into the morning fog, and never returned. But that wasn't the end. 3 weeks later, another operator, Luis, a father of 2, stopped his train just outside Station 24. He swore he saw someone in the tunnel, waving at him. When security arrived, they found his cab empty. Engine still on, doors locked from the inside. Luis was never found. A month later, a cleaning crew reported hearing footsteps on the gravel bed near the tracks. Sounded like someone dragging something heavy, one man said. But when we shined our flashlights down, the tunnel was empty, and the sound kept moving. The Transit Authority quietly increased patrols, but refused to publicly acknowledge the growing rumors. Drivers began refusing the 215 route through Station 24. Riders on nearby trains reported headaches, pressure in their ears, whispers over the PA system, even when it was off. Some said the tunnel walker wasn't a ghost. It wasn't human. It was something that woke up in the fire of 1999, something that had been buried, hidden in the dark, and forgotten. And now, with no passengers to distract it, it had grown curious. Sam now works at a hardware store in a quiet suburb. He doesn't take the subway. Not anymore. Sometimes, when he's closing up late at night, he hears it again. The dragging footsteps, a low hum. And sometimes, in the shadows between streetlights, he swears he sees a tall shape pacing, waiting for a train that never stops. Story 3. Last Stop. Rachel had been working the graveyard shift at the subway help desk for 3 months when the incident happened. She'd taken the job to support her graduate studies, figuring it would be quiet enough to read during the long, uneventful nights. And mostly, it was. From midnight to 6 a.m., she'd sit in the glass booth at Central Hub Station, answering the rare intercom call, helping the occasional lost rider, or guiding the few homeless who wandered in from the cold. But the station itself had a reputation, whispers among the staff, warnings shared in hushed tones. Never take the last train westbound, one janitor had told her on her second night, especially not alone. Rachel had laughed it off then. Urban legends, she figured, subway folklore, like the haunted escalator or the faceless woman spotted on security cams. She was a skeptic, always had been. But she started to notice something odd about that particular train. The westbound 3:46 a.m. It didn't run every night. It wasn't on the public schedule. And yet every few days she'd hear it. The screech of wheels on old rails, the faint rumble through the floor. It pulled in quietly. No passengers ever exited. No conductors ever waved. Then, within 2 minutes, it vanished back into the dark tunnel. One night, her curiosity got the best of her. It was a Thursday, slow and uneventful. At 3:40 a.m., Rachel left her booth and walked to the edge of Platform 3. A biting chill greeted her, colder than usual, and the overhead lights flickered once, then held steady. At 3:46 on the dot, the train appeared. It didn't glide in like the usual cars. It crawled. Its headlights were dim, flickering, almost yellow. The metal exterior looked weathered, like it had been forgotten underground for decades. The train squealed to a stop, doors hissing open, revealing an empty cabin lit by dull bluish lights. Rachel stood frozen, heart hammering in her chest. Then she heard it. The intercom buzzed behind her. The station's PA system, which hadn't worked properly in weeks, crackled to life with a voice that wasn't hers. Boarding now for the last stop. All aboard. She spun around, staring up at the speakers. The voice was distorted, garbled, but unmistakably human. Slow, measured, male. The doors of the train stayed open. Against her better judgment, Rachel stepped closer, drawn by a strange pull she couldn't explain. She peered inside. The car was empty, but not abandoned. Seats were pristine, floors clean, yet it felt off, too quiet. The silence inside the train was thick, like sound didn't exist beyond its threshold. Her foot crossed the line. The doors snapped shut behind her. Panic surged through her chest. She turned to the door, tried to pry it open, but the metal was ice cold and unmoving. Before she could scream, the lights inside the car dimmed to near darkness, and the train lurched forward with a sudden jolt. There was no conductor, no controls, just her, sealed in a moving steel box. The windows outside revealed nothing, only pitch-black tunnels, but not like normal darkness. This was a complete absence of light, a void that seemed to move with the train, pressing against the glass. Rachel stumbled through the car, trying to find an emergency brake, a door release, anything. Instead, she saw something else. A figure. In the next car over. It stood in the aisle, facing her. Tall, shrouded in shadow, impossible to make out. But it wasn't moving. Rachel's breath hitched. She tried the door between the cars, but it was locked. She banged on the glass, shouted. The figure didn't flinch. Then it took a step forward. She backed away instinctively. The lights above her blinked. When they came back on, the figure was gone from the next car and standing inside hers, just 5 feet away. She gasped and fell backward onto a seat. The figure didn't move, didn't speak. It had no face, just an endless blur where features should have been. Its body was fluid, shifting ever so slightly, as if it was underwater or made of something not entirely solid. Then it opened its mouth, not to speak, but to breathe. Rachel heard the sound of wind rushing through leaves, distant screams, the echo of subway tracks from a place miles below the earth. She covered her ears, trembling, but the sound came from inside her head. Images flooded her mind. Twisted tunnels, endless stairwells, flickering signs pointing nowhere. She saw people walking in circles, faces blank, trapped in time. The last stop. That's what it was. Not a destination, a state of being. a place where those who vanished on late-night trains ended up, forgotten souls looped in a spectral transit, never arriving, never escaping. The train began to slow. Rachel stood. The figure hadn't moved. The doors hissed open. She expected a station, but outside was nothing, just more tunnel, dimly lit by sickly green emergency lights. And yet, something told her to run. She bolted. The moment her feet hit the tunnel floor, the lights in the train flickered violently. The figure remained inside, unmoving, but something behind her, deeper in the dark, began to move. She didn't turn to look. She ran. Down the tunnel, lungs burning, until she saw a maintenance ladder. She climbed, scrambled through a service hatch, and burst into a dim utility corridor. Alarms were going off somewhere above her, voices shouting. She emerged near a secondary control room, covered in grime, shaking, wide-eyed. Security found her there 20 minutes later. She was reported missing for 4 hours. The surveillance tapes from Platform 3 showed nothing. No train, no Rachel, just an empty station from 3:40 to 4:15 a.m. But when they reviewed older footage, weeks, even years back, they noticed something strange. Every few nights around 3:46 a.m., the station lights dimmed for exactly 2 minutes. The audio logs picked up static, and on 3 separate occasions, janitors could be seen looking toward the tunnel and backing away in fear. Rachel never returned to the subway. She dropped out of school, moved in with her sister upstate. She doesn't talk about what happened, but sometimes she wakes in the middle of the night to the sound of screeching rails, and in the quiet that follows, a voice whispers, "Boarding now for the last stop." In the quiet hours when the world above sleeps, the subway pulses with secrets only the night shift knows. These tunnels, these platforms, they've seen things most people wouldn't believe. Whether it's a glimpse of someone who shouldn't be there or a sound echoing through the dark that doesn't belong, the line between reality and something much darker grows thinner by the hour. So next time you ride the last train home, take a look around. That stranger in the corner? The shadow just out of sight? Some night shift workers say they never come back alone. Sleep well if you can.